We wanted to give you guys an opportunity to hear some firsthand experiences and to ask questions and just sort of like build the context for the piece and help you have an understanding of like the emotions and experiences and how you might be able to embody them in your performance. So that's kind of our intention with having you here today.
Very honored and happy to be here and excited. I'm proud of every one of you for the dancing that you're doing, that you're learning, that you have in your heart, that our ancestors call our drum is our heartbeat.
And then one day I saw it. One humble man dancing, he hardly had any regalia, but the way he moved and what I could see on his face, I knew it was something special. And I wanted to follow them into that circle. And it has made me whole. And this one elder from Warm Springs, Oregon, he said, when you go out on that floor, he said, the area you dance on, that area is between you and the Creator, nobody else. Just like when they say you dance like nobody's watching. That's it. It's no matter where you come from, you have to know who you are and where you come from to be complete. You can't come into a strange world and think you're gonna be a whole person. Because in the residential school, it was funny, they would beat you with one hand and then try and teach you about God and love when they're doing the opposite. You know, how do you grasp that when somebody's beating you over the head?
I know who I am and where I come from now, and I'm very proud of who I am and where I come from.
The Indigenous people, you go into Vancouver and you see the people walking the streets and nobody understands why they are the way they are. I could see the ones who were doing the best in this modern day society were the ones who were balanced, holding on to something from the past and taking from today what they have to survive. Those are the ones that are balanced. They always say that we lost our culture, we lost our way, but it was always just over the hill, just around the corner. You walk up there and you find it and it's still there.
I don't know, what's the final message? What do we think we want to leave with? And then we can decide from there what we want to do.
One person, like their chair was up and but that their partner would still be there, and that like for the rest of the dance they would just be like looking as if they like lost their friend or their family member or whoever.
Because you know, I had the thought, like Lauren's idea about like being sort of like battered and you've given up or whatever. I think that's like the ripple effect of like what we see, like the survivors of residential school is like when they came out of residential school, they had like these years of darkness. Like, you know, Gloria was talking about how she was suicidal for some parts of her life after residential school and like just that feeling of darkness. Like, but when you're in the school, like the day to day, we're still here. Like this setting, it hasn't changed. You're still wearing your uniforms and you're just going to school again the next day. So like, has the impact like really, like have you really grasped it? Like as a school age child, like do you understand what I'm saying? Like, can you like make that leap and say that like from the one school day to the next, like you have been impacted in this way, or is it not until like years later, the hindsight of like it, you know what I mean?
I hope to dance this piece with a sense of anger and like bitterness towards what happened and what is continuing to happen in some sense. I've realized that we can't judge the experiences of others based on the face they give us.
My first reaction when I heard firsthand accounts of the discrimination that has been shown towards First Nations people and Indigenous people, it was hard. I mean, I can't believe that a group in history has been able to do such horrible acts towards another group.
What really inspires my performance quality in this piece is knowing a lot of the difficulties and struggles that people had to go through, especially in their childhood, which was distressing and really hurt them later on. I think I really base my performance out of not fear, but almost compliance, because I feel like knowing that they had this feeling that they had to go and do it every day, and they had to have their culture ripped away from them, and they didn't really have a choice, and so it was just forced upon them. And I think there's a lot of anger and a lot of emotion at the beginning, and I love how it's choreographed at the end, so it feels that they're almost so used to it, even though it's harmful for their health. I was wondering how I would feel for wearing the school uniform, like a classic wear that we have to wear for our costumes, and I hadn't gone to private school, so I hadn't really felt what it was like to be uncomfortable or not in my skin or looking exactly like everybody else, which I don't really think my clothing always expresses myself, but I feel like I do it unconsciously, and the ability to wear your own clothes and represent yourself in your own way, I think shows freedom. And I think it's interesting how, even though it's just clothing, it still boxes you off to feel like you have to be conforming to society when you're wearing the same thing as everybody else, especially in a residential school. And I really think that is a big part of this choreography and this piece, because it definitely represents the difficulty they had and how much they were stripped of when they were in residential schools. After Keith and Gloria spoke, I felt very empowered, but also there was a lot of emotional weight, I think, with their speech. It wasn't a speech, and it almost felt very intimate because of how personal the topics got, especially when they started talking about how dance became an outlet and how it became a part of their lives and so much a part of their own families' lives. I think it was very inspiring because I think as dancers, we always aspire to go somewhere with our dance and share something, and they definitely know what they want to share and how they want to bring their own culture into dance, and I think it was really empowering. I think I also began to understand, it was a first-hand account of what residential school felt like, and especially when Keith started talking about how he decided he wanted to dance, because of how his daughters were like, oh, you need to dance with me, it would make me so happy, it would be so great. I feel like we can all relate to that in some way, when you want to bring your dad on the dance floor and they're like, no, but they end up doing it because they want to make you happy and they want to show that.
The fact that I have the opportunity to come to school and dance every day inspires my performance quality for this piece. The fact that I am not getting held back because of my beliefs or because of my ways of thinking or of my ethnicity or anything like that.
I'll never forget that feeling of being alone. Survival was the only option. The continuous abuse has fractured my relationship with my community.
I was raised by a village. I remember the smell of fresh bannock and the ring of laughter. I realized how my mother was crying because all her children were being taken away. They separated us from the nucleus of family warmth. Structure, isolation, agony, unworthy, pulled apart, forced upon us by complete strangers. Beaten for defending, never recover.
I'll tell you one thing. I don't like to think about it. Punished, meanness, hit you on the back, strapped, lonely, and missing our parents. Why are we always talking about this? Why talk? We want to see some action. They call us dumb Indians. You're good for nothing. I don't think it will heal up. Maybe prayer might. That's what I've been taught my whole life.
I don't feel human anymore.
unworthy, unloved, and stepped over. A deep-rooted loneliness. Isolated with fear. Don't speak, don't get hurt. Dysfunctional and guilty. I just want to forget.
My perspective on Canadian history has changed in the sense that when we're taught in school, it's very much focused on past tense. This happened. These people are victims. However, that's not exactly the case. I believe it's very much a present issue, and listening to the stories that we've heard, like personal accounts and through research and through this project, I think as a group we've realized that it's still very much a present issue. It's not just Canadian history. The effects of residential schools are still in play today, and they can affect generations for a long time. And we need to be, it's an important step to take to be a part of the Truth and Reconciliation mission. And that's what I believe we're aiming to do through this project in our dance class.